You can't open doors. You can't buy dinners. Now, I'm not saying I don't agree with this stuff. I'm just saying, hey, things change. Times change, Serena. I don't know.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Have a good day.
That was my rant for the day.
That was
Thank
good.
You.
Bye. I like the whole ex-husband thing. My ex-husband used to do that. Do you think, is there more people married than not these days?
Yes.
What age group?
I don't know. Any age group. I mean,
a lot of the millennials don't want to get married. They just want to live together.
They just want to live together. Why do you reckon that is? I'm trying to use words you're familiar with.
They probably learned from their parents.
Hey, Mike Wilkie with Garden of the Gods Homes. You guys, and I want to say this, we have a new audience. It turns over all the time. People are driving everything. So anytime you need a custom home built, I found these guys down in Colorado Springs are excellent. In fact, not just Mike, but I've said this like 5 times. His dad, his dad's dad, and his dad's dad's dad have all built homes. But you guys do other stuff. And what do you guys do? It's first of all, it's Pikes Peak region. But what do you guys do outside of brand new custom homes? And you've built hundreds, if not thousands of them.
We do renovation work, and we like to focus on jobs that have structural renovation requirements where you need permits and you have to go through zoning issues. And
that's where you specialize in.
Yeah, that's where we can add the most value. There's a lot of kitchen and bath guys out there that are very good, so we usually don't try to compete for just kitchen and bath work, non-permit work.
Yeah, renovations.
Yeah, we like to do stuff that...
How about like a pop-top? You would do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like those.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yep.
How about like an RV garage that's going to be insulated, the whole bit?
Oh, yeah. We do a lot of detached structures, and we like to do historical renovation work where we're doing it period correct.
I love his business philosophy, guys, just talking to him. Doc, weren't you impressed by that?
I think he's got a great business model. I wish I'd used him for my custom home.
Yeah, apparently that didn't go very well. This sounds pretty important here. Lee, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good, Lee. It's better than you, apparently.
Yeah, I had signed about 10 years ago as a co-signer for my son, his house. And just recently he took in somebody for a couple of days. They had some problems with their own house, and their son got hurt. And because he got hurt, he broke his leg, and they went through and had a couple of surgeries. And now we get a letter from the insurance company saying that it's probably going to go over the $300,000. It might be time for us to get a personal lawyer. So I am wondering, who do I get for a personal lawyer? And my name is on the loan. Am I responsible for that too?
Suzanne, see if we can get Fuller up. I want to ask him a few questions, but I want to ask some basic questions first, Lee. You said 10 years ago you co-signed. So who owns this house?
Well, I co-signed it. They're still paying it off.
No, but hold on a second. Who owns the house? Whose name's on the deed? I don't care if you are financially responsible. Who owns the house?
Well, I thought when you co-sign a loan, you're all on the loan, right?
No, you might all be on the loan. We're not talking about the loan. In other words, I could have a co-signer on a car. Let's make this very simple. I could co-sign for my son on a car. When he titles the car, it could be 100% in his name. In other words, I have no ownership of the car whatsoever, but I am responsible for the debt. What I'm trying to figure out is, why do you think you're responsible for this in any way? That's the first thing I'm trying to figure out. Or did the letter come to your son?
No, the letter has my son, his wife, and my name on it. I also...
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, do you know if your name is on the deed? Do you have ownership in that house?
I'm not 100% sure.
Well, if he's on the insurance policy, it must be, Mark, right? He must be on the deed.
I'm not necessarily sure he's on the insurance policy.
Well, if he got the letter, too.
I don't know. I don't necessarily assume anything. I find it odd, though, that just because he co-signed, that he's got ownership in this house.
You could go look in the county on that thing. It'll say who's on the deed.
Why don't we look it up for him? Let's do that. I really want to do that. I'm going to answer all your questions, and we're getting a legal mind on to help with that. But I'd really like to see that first, because you might not even be on the hook, Lee. You follow what I'm saying?
Well, I believe I am.
You really do? Okay.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So over $300,000. Is there going to be lifetime injuries here?
No, what happened is that the kid, from what I understand, I'm not 100% know what went on, but the kid fell, broke his leg, and it broke pretty bad where they had to have surgery on it and put pins in there. Well, they have had a second surgery now to take the pins out. He's up fine, running around. He's fine now, but the way the insurances are, I'm sure for the medical and stuff, they're charging a pretty good price on it.
You know, what's interesting, how much money do you guys have?
We have a good amount. I do not a lot of money, but a
lot of assets.
I mean, in my 401k, like $250,000 in my 401k.
Yeah, generally they're not. Generally, they're not going to be able to touch that. But here's some of the curious things I want to ask our attorney. Hey, if we can't get Fuller, Denver trial attorneys, Marco Bendinelli, I want a PI on this. So here's some of the things I want you to think about. Actually, I got to take a break and I'll come back. But I think I've got news that'll make you feel a little more better about this. Hold tight.
The restroom door said gentlemen, so I just walked inside. I took 2 steps and realized I've been taken for a ride. I heard high voices, turned and found the place was occupied by 2 nuns, 3 old ladies, and a nurse. What could be worse?
Oh, man. Who does this one, Ugly Ed?
Bob Rivers.
Bob Rivers. It's like, oh, man, who was that guy that did I'm fat, I'm fat?
Weird Al.
Weird Al. He's still touring, I think. Okay, Dan Sloan with Denver Trial Lawyers we have on. Dan, I just got some real basic questions that I'm going to ask one of our callers to ask whatever he wants to ask of you. But
okay, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, you got it. We got into this conversation. An insurance company in general, let's talk an auto accident, and then I believe, in fact, I'm sure of it, we can apply that to a homeowner's policy. But if you only have $25,000, let's say you have the lowest policy, whatever state you're in allows, okay? And there's an accident, and that person really doesn't have any money. That's why they have the lowest amount of insurance. And let's say there is $300,000 in damage. Your insurance company, if you're the one with the lowest amount, that $25,000, and you're at fault, and you're about to get sued, your insurance company would never, and tell me if I'm wrong, would never give the other company whatever you pay for. So in this example, the $25,000, then let that other company come over and sue you. Their fiduciary agreement is with you, right? They have to protect you. So the only way they would pay out is if they got a settlement or if you agreed to something else. Is that correct?
Well, the way they would pay out the policy limits is in exchange for a full and final release from whoever they're paying the money to.
Yeah, so just to clarify, because Dan is very slow here, just to clarify, if it's $25,000, they would have to sign a full release, so they couldn't turn around and sue you again for the other $275,000, even though you don't have it.
That's correct. Your insurance company should not be putting you in a position where you're going to be sued by someone else and paying out the money. Now, what can happen is the individual that's injured can make a claim that is in excess of the policy, and they can refuse to accept the policy limits in exchange for a release, and they can move on to court.
That's right.
And obtain a verdict in excess of the policy limits, in which case, if the insurance company offered to pay the policy limits, it would pay the policy
That's right.
limits, the $25,000.
But they would protect you in court so you wouldn't have to lawyer up. But hold on. That's where this call's going, and I'm very interested to see what the caller has to ask you. Because according to him, his own insurance company told him to lawyer up. There's no way. Everybody hold on.
This is the Troubleshooter Show.
Help, I need somebody.
Now, Tom Martino, the Troubleshooter.
Welcome to the show, the only show of its kind. We are here to solve problems, answer questions, take your complaints, try to help you out, try to give you advice. We have one of our experts on, Dan Sloan with Denver Trial Lawyers. I'm going to bring him right back up. But to catch everybody up, Lee called up. he co-signed on a house, and I'm saying this for Denver trial lawyers, Dan, as well. So, Dan, he co-signed on a loan about 10 years ago on a house. We're assuming his name is on the deed. Anyhow, someone fell in the house, and his insurance company apparently, Dan, his insurance company apparently wrote him a letter saying, hey, you better lawyer up because you only have $300,000 in coverage. I mean, right there it sounds a little strange, right?
No, actually it doesn't, Mark. His insurance company's doing what it should be doing.
Okay, hold on. Let me bring him up. Hold on. I want to bring Lee up. Keep going, Dan.
Well, what I was going to say is if this claim is potentially going to exceed the policy limits of $300,000, then Lee does need to get his own counsel involved.
I thought your insurance company had to fight for you. You're saying if these people are going to sue him for more than the $300,000, first of all, they'd never settle for that, right?
Well, I don't know if they would or not.
No. I'm saying his insurance company can't simply write them the check for $300 and tell Lee, okay, there, we did our part.
No, they won't do that. What they're doing is they're probably willing to pay the $300,000, and they will step up and defend him in court.
Got it.
Whether they are willing to pay that or not, but because there's a potential excess, he needs his own attorney.
Okay, and just to help us out, why would he, if they're going to defend him in court, why would he need another attorney?
Well, it's kind of a complicated relationship, but technically the lawyers who are representing him are hired by the insurance company, but they technically represent Lee.
That's right.
That's how they do it. But because their representation is it's sort of up and to the amount of the policy limits is the best way I can put it.
Okay, let me ask this, Dan. If his liability insurance covers up to $300,000 and they are representing him in court during a trial, that $300,000 on the liability payout still doesn't change. They can't say, hey, we spent $200,000 defending you. That comes off the $300,000?
Well, it depends on the terms of the policy. If it's what they call a wasting policy or a Pac-Man policy, then the defense costs will come off of that $300,000.
Well, generally speaking, in a homeowner's policy, how does it work? How is it usually stated, generally speaking?
Generally, it's not.
Okay.
Policy, but that's something very important to know.
Okay. Now, Lee, do you have any questions for Dan? Because now I understand what's going on a lot better.
Okay, as the co-signer to the loan, am I responsible for damages? I don't live there. I've never lived there. Am I still responsible?
And what I told him, Dan, just so you don't have to recap stuff that might have already been said, I have no idea if he has ownership in the house. He doesn't know if he's on the deed. He assumes he is because he co-signed. But I have no idea. We're going to get his address and check the county site, but we don't know if he owns the house or not.
Okay. Well, that's the million-dollar question right here. In Colorado, under a premises liability theory, the property owner is responsible for what occurs on the property. And there's a very, very broad definition of what constitutes a property owner in Colorado. If you're on the deed, Lee, you're 100% the property owner. If you have control and are conducting activities on the property owner, you are the property owner. Now, simply co-signing, I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. However, my guess is as a co-signer on a loan, you may not be a property owner as defined in the premises liability statute.
Geez, I'd hope not, Dan. And the reason I say that is if I lent somebody on a signature loan $500 to buy a car and they went out and bought a car with their own money and the money I lent them, then all of a sudden I have ownership in that car. That would be insane.
Well, a car and real property are different because there's a specific statute that covers and defines what an owner of real property is in the context of this kind of case, which is a premises liability case. So in a car, no problem. On a home, on real property, I don't think there's a problem. but I can't say for sure off the top of my head.
You know, it's kind of it's kind of strange thinking about that, Dan. It brings up something that I've heard from other attorneys.